WTWO's Beyond the Stands podcast is brought to you by Crow Equipment, Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, Snap Home Media LLC, Sycamore Insurance Associates. Here's your host, Rick Semler.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Stands. Of course, I'm your host, Rick Semler, and I'm joined by Riverton Parke football head coach Brad Sanders. He's joining me in studio. Brad, good to see you, Coach.
Thanks.
So we're 1 week into the high school football season and had a lot of big storylines. And one of the big storylines from last Friday was Riverton Parke beating Cloverdale and Coach Sanders becoming the all-time winningest head coach at Riverton Parke. I know you're going to pass off the credit to everybody else. That's just the way you are. But how big of a deal is it that you're the all-time winningest coach at Riverton Parke?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's been a combination of a lot of people. When we started this journey years ago with our youth kids and, just trying to establish a culture, there's been a lot of people that have helped me along the way. So, can't win football games without kids. I've been fortunate to have some really good kids over the last few years. So,
I know a lot of coaches, they don't even know when they break records. So did you know Friday night that if you won, you'd have a chance to become the all-time winningest coach in Riverton Parke football history?
I'd honestly forgot about my best friend, Kevin Allen. He helps with our program. He's our junior high coach. He's a banker, so he's a numbers guy. So he knows all the stats and all that stuff. So, I'd actually forgotten about it. And it was – my parents were both there and my wife and kids, so, it was nice.
So when you found out after the game, I'm sure they told you that you broke the record. What did you say, and how'd the players and everybody treat you?
The players were happy. A lot of them, they came up, shook hands with me and gave me a hug, and, it was no different than any other. I was just glad to get the win and get 1-0, so.
You speak of the players hugging you. You're a great players coach. You have a son on the team, but you know all the boys on the team for a long time. To be treated like that by the players, I know you coach them hard, but you also treat them like sons. What's that mean that, the respect they pay to you?
It means a lot. At the end of the day, that's, I think that's what it's about. A lot of these kids, I came from a similar background as them, grew up right there in that community. So, it's all about the players. So,
now you passed Hank Lopez to become the all-time winningest coach at Riverton Parke. I covered Hank back in the day, a great coach. What do you remember about Hank? And just a nice honor to pass a pretty good coach there.
Yeah, Hank reached out to me. He was a great coach. He won our sectional there, the one sectional championship we do have, and he reached out and congratulated me. And I had the opportunity to coach for Hank. I was a junior high coach back then, and then we coached together. On staff with Jake Weber, when Weber was there. So, he's very, very sharp, good X's and O's guy. Great coach. So
hard to believe Hank is down in Tennessee coaching now.
Yeah.
So I still talk to him quite a bit. So I mentioned you won the game last Friday, 33-13 over Cloverdale. High expectations for Riverton Parke. So talk about game one. Did you get what you wanted out of your team?
Yeah, I think so. We were pretty concerned about Cloverdale. They were extremely athletic. Like everybody else, they got some move-ins and some kids that wasn't there last year. We knew they were athletic on film. Felt like they played harder than what we did the previous week. So that was a big point of emphasis for us, was to make sure our guys, the effort was there. We went out and executed it, and pretty happy with it. So.
And one thing you told me coming into the season, it was at the Wabash Valley Football Coaches Association Media Day. We're going to run the ball. We're going to smash it down team's mouth. Well, you did that, 345 or 342 rushing the first week. How proud are you of that offensive line and that rushing game?
Really proud. Those kids have worked hard in the weight room. That's kind of our I think what we do fits, our kids in the community. They're hardworking kids. They just go to work every day. It's nothing fancy. We're gonna do what we do, and so they're gonna be physical and play hard, and that's what we want to be known for. So.
Now, kind of unheard of, honestly. A 1A school, you have 4 guys over 260 on the offensive line. Colton Lanzone,
Lanzone,
Joel Hara, Zeke
Goulet.
and Lane Griffin.
Yep.
Want to get the names right there.
Yep.
So appreciate the help, Coach. I mean, just talk about that. You don't see that at a lot of 1A schools, 4 guys 260 and above. How unique is that?
For us, it's very unique. We have a couple other kids that are younger that, most of those kids come back next year. So we have a couple of those kids that'll step right in next year and will be just as big then also. We're just looking to take advantage of it while we got them. All great kids, all good in the classroom. They just do things the right way. So.
I want to thank our sponsors of the show, Crow Equipment Incorporated, Snap Home Media LLC, Sycamore Insurance Associates, and Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, your 2018 American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, building a higher standard award winner. For quality and reliability you can depend on, call Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, 765-832-9401. Now, we were talking about this before we started the podcast. It's no secret. You're maybe winning right now, but Riverton Parke football hasn't exactly won over the years. You've had 8 wins 2 of the last 3 years. Hadn't done that, had an 8-win season before that in 16 years. How proud, I know you want more, but how proud of what you have going on at Riverton Parke right now?
I'm extremely proud. We, as an alumni, and, the goal was when I first got the job was just, we just want to have respect. We were everybody's homecoming, everybody's senior night. Everybody wanted to play us, and so it was a goal of mine, and as well as the rest of the alumni that I got involved to change that and establish a culture. And we just the wins are nice, but just doing things the right way. We're very, very proud of our kids and what we've been able to accomplish the last few years.
And you truly believe, and I talk about this with a lot of coaches I have on, the big reason you felt the change is it started with the youth program years ago, correct?
Yes. We started, I can remember when we wanted to start youth, I was told, it's never going to work. To me, that's, I like when people tell me we can't do something, to try to prove them wrong. So, we established our youth, and it took a while to get it going, but we're strong in numbers now. My current juniors and seniors have had a ton of success. They played down in Terre Haute at the Boys and Girls Club, and I think they lost 1 game, in their time down there. I think it's huge for any program. You have to have youth, and that's where it starts at. So.
Does this process become any more satisfying? Like you said, you were doubted about it at the beginning, that you were doubted about it, you faced a lot of obstacles, but you're winning now. Does it make it even sweeter just knowing everything you had to do to get to this point?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've, like I said, it's been a combination of a lot of people. My alumni, Coach Allen, that, like I said, my best friend, he coaches junior high. We established a touchdown club, and used to at Riverton Parke, it was all about, baseball or softball. And, we're proud that, football is kind of getting mentioned now as, as one of those sports that excels there.
You mentioned that baseball, softball, they get talked about a lot at Riverton Parke,
Yep.
and football hasn't. So it brings me to my next question. You're winning, but now I know you want things that are even bigger. And one of them is a conference championship. I have found it hard to believe, and you mentioned it, you've never won a conference championship.
No.
That is hard to believe for as long as you've been around, that you haven't done that. I mean, that's at the end of the season, but how much have you made that a focal point for your program, that this is what we're chasing, is a WRC championship?
Yeah, that was goal one. We've been fortunate. We've made it to 2 sectional championships in the last 4 years. And, we got beat by 2 really good teams that were just better than us. So this year, my seniors and, myself, goal number 1 is to win the conference. We start that journey next week. And we're going to worry about that and get that done first. And then, we know eventually we're going to have to deal with South Putt, if we want to win a sectional. And we'll see where we're all at come November. And, hopefully we're on different sides of the bracket and we don't have to play the first round. So, yeah.
A lot of coaches shy away, from the conference talk because it's the end of the season. You've been upfront about it. Do you think the guys liked it that you made this clear from the get-go?
this particular group I've had, they, I mean, it's been their goal since they were kids, and even beyond that, when they would get done with youth games as kids, I mean, I know it's kind of unheard of for Riverton, but, that we would say, what's your goal? And they would, we want to win a state title. That was their goal. So, there's been some people say that, they have a chance to go far in the tournament, if we can get by South Putt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, we try not to look ahead, but, we know we got a really good group of kids right now. We want to take advantage of it. So I don't think they feel the pressure. We haven't done anything yet, so it's always nice to talk about stuff like that. But, we know that it's not going to be easy. So we'll take it 1 week at a time, and that starts next week with Fountain Central. So
you spoke of that sectional, and you have South Putnam in that sectional,
Mm-hmm.
who's one of the top teams in 1A. They've been great for several years in a row now. I know looking down the road, but how much are you trying to prepare your team now? I mean, to get a sectional, you're going to have to go through South Putnam. How much are you trying to prepare your team right now for that task down the road?
Well, that started in January. We knew we had to get stronger. Coach Sorrell does a great job. Those kids they were bigger and faster and stronger than us last year. And, so we went in the off season, and, our kids kept that in the back of their minds. And, so yeah, it's going to be a tough task, but we'll see what happens when we get to that point.
Now, one of the things you get to do, I mentioned, all the kids on your team
Mm-hmm.
since they were younger. Obviously, your players, but you also have got to coach your sons. Brogan didn't quite have all the success that Colette's getting to experience.
Yeah.
But how nice is it to not only be winning, but getting to do it with your son as well?
That means a lot. Football's been important to me my whole life. It was life-changing for me. And some of the things I dealt with growing up, I don't think I would be where I am today without it, so I love the life lessons it teaches. And, and both the boys have, been able to experience that and just to be a part of it. It's been really rewarding, something I'll definitely cherish.
Now, before I let you go, got to talk about week 2. You're 1-0, but you go on the road this week to Edinburgh. They lost in their opener. What preview their matchup and what you expect when you go to Edinburgh on Friday?
We just want to get, there's some things we want to work on and try to get better at this week. I know as of late they've struggled with numbers and, but. We've been there. We've been in the same boat they've been in. So I'm aware of what they're dealing with. We had our week 2 game drop, so we had a choice between Edinburgh and Lake Station, I think, which was
wow.
So we had to pick something up, and so we're just gonna try to get better at what we do and try to stay healthy and get ready for next week. So.
Well, Coach Sanders, again, congratulations on becoming Riverton Parke's all-time wins leader in football. I know it's something that you'll pass the credit on to everybody else, but you deserve it, not just for being the wins leader, but the program that you're building at Riverton Parke. So congratulations again, Coach Sanders.
Thank you very much.
That does it for this edition of Beyond the Stands. Remember, you can follow us on Spotify, CastBox, Pocket Cast, iHeartRadio, or always on WTWO's MyWabashValley.com.
WTWO's Beyond the Stands podcast is brought to you by Crow Equipment, Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, Snap Home Media LLC, Sycamore Insurance Associates. Catch this episode again and more of Rick's interviews online at MyWabashValley.com.